Guys, welcome back to the channel. It is of course me, Tush Guy, and today we are back with some chess. Not the usual upload here, I understand, but I might have just played the best game ever for me. So let's jump right into it. We have the completed game and the review. So this was kind of how it went. It was a pretty quick game, pretty strong accuracy. You can see the game only lasted 14 moves. Chess.com gave me a rating way over, so let's get into it. So he starts off with c3, and right off the bat I knew this guy was like either trying something cheesy or just didn't know what he was doing. I stick to e5 king's pawn, nothing crazy. He pushes the e-pawn now, so the green arrows, the engine is going to indicate what it thinks is the best move. I respond with my queen pawn and really just trying to get control in the center from two pawns and take over there. He plays pawn to f3. Again, I really didn't know what he was thinking. I just took it, and he gets his queen out early. You can see the engine wants him to develop his minor pieces, which is what you should aim to do. So I start with that. Bishop to defend the check from the queen and to threaten the queen. So he has to move it. I develop my piece, I stop the check, and threaten his queen. So that was definitely the best move. He comes over and captures my pawn. I'll continue developing. This knight will defend this pawn. And he brings his bishop out. Now over here I'm okay trading this knight for the bishop, because if he captures, I'll just recapture with my bishop and his only developed piece is gone then, so that is totally fine by me. I choose to hit the queen here instead, again forcing him to move his queen, winning some more control over the center. He takes his queen back, and now really I just wanted to prepare a castle. I didn't want to move my bishop to here where the engine says so, just because this pawn's kind of blocking it, and the pawn already has a defender. The knight's there protecting it, so put my bishop over there. He captures. Like I said, I was more than happy to just trade it off, and in this position you can see I got 3 of my minor pieces developed, and all of his pieces are still on the back rank here. So really, I mean, we're already taking over control of the center. We have our knight hitting some important squares and this bishop on this diagonal. So things are looking good already. He's going to come in and capture the pawn. No worries. I get my king to safety, castle like I wanted to. He'll drop his queen back and try to get a queen trade. I did not want to do that because what I notice here is this file is completely open, and you know, I would like to get either my rook or my queen onto this open file. You know, he just so happens to be hitting my queen, so I will go ahead and just move my queen over there. So he drops his queen back again. I'm not really sure why, but that's what he chooses to do. And at this point I see something. Get rook out, hit the queen, force him to move it again. The engine is already suggesting this move. This is what I did on my next move. So he'll drop his queen back, and here I play knight to g4, seemingly sacrificing it for nothing, but the idea is if he captures with the pawn, bishop to h4 is a double check. The bishop is checking the king. The queen is hitting the king. You cannot block both checks at once, so you have to move the king, and you can see the evaluation bar on the left here. It says mate in 1, because no matter which move, the king only has 2 legal moves. Both of them lead to checkmate. That's a checkmate. And if he goes to d1, that too is checkmate. So my opponent, he did not do that, but he instead played this move, which I guess the idea was that after the same kind of sequence, I can no longer go over here because his rook is defending the square. So I think that's what his thinking was. But actually over here, there is a mate in... So I did end up playing bishop to h4 still, giving the double check. But there is mate in 6 actually here, and I found it, but my opponent unfortunately resigned before I could pull it off, but I'll just go ahead and show it here. So after knight over here, he's in check. He cannot take with this pawn because of my rook behind here, and if he could not take because he'd be in check then. So he's in check. His only legal move right now is here, but if you notice, the knight, we have a royal fork. I'm hitting the king and the queen with the knight. He has to move his king out of check. I can go and pick up the queen, and now my queen sitting back here is giving a check to the king. He's got to move his king, the only legal move. Well, he can actually come here to f1, but again, it's the same as before. My queen is sitting here. This is checkmate. So that threat is always going to be there. In this square, he cannot move his king to the square because it's an instant checkmate. So he has to keep dancing back and forth, and it takes 2 to tango, so that's what we're going to do. And again, he'd come back, he'd come over here, and now instead of going back there, the knight's not giving a check. We bring this bishop into play. We are covering this diagonal with this bishop, this diagonal with this bishop. The knight is defended by the queen, and now he has 2 moves. His king cannot move anywhere. You don't see any of the dots popping up. It's either the c or the d pawn. He has to block with it. So if he were to do the c pawn to c4, we would capture with the knight, actually. Oops, giving the check with the queen, and after returning to either there or there, it really does not matter because knight to e3 is checkmate, and if you were to go here, then same deal as before, queen to e3, e1 is the checkmate. So instead, he could play pawn to d3, but now instead of the knight can't capture, so we just simply capture with the bishop. He has to come to d2, and now any one of these 4 squares, I move my bishop out of the way, it's a checkmate. This is a checkmate. The rook is hitting here and covering this square. This position is protected by the bishop. This diagonal covered by this bishop, and this square is covered by the knight. And it really is the same thing no matter where I end up going. So regardless of which square I chose, that would be a checkmate. Mate in 7, which I found, but unfortunately my opponent, you can see the white flag, or black flag I guess, did not let me carry through with it, but that was the game. The position is just absolutely beautiful. These queen and the rook sitting in the back protecting the knight, and the knight just kind of going back and forth, picking up pieces one by one. And yep, that's all I wanted to show, and thank you for tuning in. I will see you all next time.